Hi everyone, welcome to my Tips and Tricks channel where I share with you ideas for living a copacetic life. My name is Kristen Cole. I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm here to share with you evidence-based practices for brain health. In this video, I'll share with you a little bit about how Alzheimer's disease develops, and mostly I'm going to focus on tips and tricks for brain health. Here's a reality check. Alzheimer's disease in America is significant. It is the 6th leading cause of death right now, and 5.8 million people are living with Alzheimer's disease. Between the years 2000 and 2018, death rates related to Alzheimer's increased by 146%. What's important to recognize is the amount of unpaid caregivers who are helping people with Alzheimer's in our country. Over 16 million people are caring for someone with Alzheimer's without getting financial compensation for that. That's very stressful. You can have a look on the map here to see how your state is doing. The darker states indicate the higher rates of Alzheimer's. And the rates of Alzheimer's over the years is increasing. That's the bad news. The good news is that in order to try and not develop Alzheimer's, we want to prevent it. How do we prevent Alzheimer's? We maintain our brain health and we protect our brain. And we absolutely can do that in a lot of different ways. That's the good news. What I'd like to share with you is a little bit about Alzheimer's disease and then focus on brain health. Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. It's the most common type of dementia. And dementia is a series of symptoms related to problems with learning, memory, following a sequence of events, understanding visual spatial skills, language, etc. With Alzheimer's in particular, beta amyloid builds up within the brain, and this is a substance that becomes sticky and then creates plaques. Those plaques unfortunately destroy brain cells, and the destroyed brain cells aren't able to communicate with each other or send signals, and then that's what can cause the dementia symptoms. Alzheimer's disease is a gradual progression and it's degenerative, so symptoms become worse over time. There's no single test for it. However, specialists who work in the field of Alzheimer's research and assessment are wonderful at being able to determine the type of dementia a person has, whether it's Alzheimer's or another type of dementia. You may have heard that there is a hereditability related to Alzheimer's. If we have somebody in our biological family who has a history of Alzheimer's, we may be concerned that we're going to get it ourselves. And what I want to share with you is that our genes are not our destiny. There are many reasons why people develop Alzheimer's beyond a genetic connection. And if we can change our lifestyle to benefit the health of our brain and protect it, we're less likely to develop any type of dementia. And that's the goal here. There's some things I'd like you to be aware of and be educated about. The goal, again, is to modify our behaviors in order to protect our brain and benefit the health of our brain. One of the things we want to be concerned about staying away from is mercury. We don't want to consume mercury if we can help it. Mercury is often found in large fish like shark, swordfish, grouper, and orange roughy. Mercury can be destructive to the brain. When you're consuming fish, be wise about it. Get online and look at the different fish that you like and notice the levels of mercury in it and make your choices wisely. We also want to prevent being exposed to lead. We might get exposed to lead through certain paints that contain lead or plastic products that might contain lead or in our water systems. Being, again, a wise consumer of products that don't contain lead is going to be very beneficial to our brain. It's important to manage our stress and not experience chronic stress. Chronic stress is that ongoing daily intensive stress that goes on for over 6 months. This raises our levels of cortisol, which can be destructive because it causes inflammation of the brain, and that can be destructive to certain parts of our brain, in particular the hippocampus. Consuming saturated fats and trans fats can also harm the brain. There are certain oils that are high in saturated fats. There are certain foods like pastries and sweets that have trans fats. We want to make sure that we're reducing and eliminating these types of fats in our nutrition plan in order to protect our brain. We also want to avoid long napping. I know that sounds sad for those of us that like to nap, but it can actually increase our risk of Alzheimer's if we're not a baby and we're not over 65 and we're napping for an hour or more every day. That can actually increase our risk. What's happening is it's throwing off our circadian rhythm, the sleep-wake cycle that regulates our ability to be restored and recover every evening. And that disruption can cause inflammation, which can cause the problems. So the bottom line here so far is we want to avoid any kind of brain inflammation. These types of substances and habits can cause inflammation. If we can decrease and change these habits, then we're going to have less inflammation. Less inflammation means a much healthier brain. There are certain supplements that researchers have found can be very healthy for our brain. When we find that they have discovered these supplements are healthy for the brain, it's important to understand that it's usually because people are consuming these types of nutrients through foods, not necessarily through pills. So be careful about reading research that says a particular substance is good for us in some way and then going and buying those pills immediately. It might be that the research is reflective of foods containing those substances rather than supplements. If you're going to purchase supplements, I recommend that you look for these two labels, particularly the first one, the USP label, USP verified label, and the NSF label. These labels indicate that the substance or the supplement that you're purchasing is falling into a particular way of being made that's much safer. Supplements are not regulated by the FDA. Therefore, manufacturers of supplements could mislabel products and really not get in trouble for it. These agencies, these independent agencies, the USP and the NSF, are programs that indicate if you've got this seal on your supplement, you can be assured of several things. One is you can be assured that it contains the substances and ingredients that are actually on the label, and it contains those ingredients with accuracy and potency that it actually is stating. These labels also indicate that there are no harmful contaminants in the supplement. Some manufacturers are including certain types of metals in order to get the product to bind together. Metals are very unhealthy for our brain, particularly some of the metals that are in some of those supplements that aren't regulated. When you buy a supplement that has this verified label on it, you know that you're purchasing a product that doesn't have those harmful metals, contaminants, or pesticides that could be harmful to our brain. And the last thing that you can be assured of when you're buying a product with these labels is that it's made and manufactured in a safe environment that is following health protocols. Some more tips for brain health include taking care of other organs in our body. Proper treatment of cardiovascular disease is really important for brain health. There are brain vessels that travel around and through the brain, and so your brain needs good blood flow and oxygen and nutrients. And when it can't get that through good blood flow because of heart disease or blood pressure problems, that can actually be harmful to the brain. So taking care of your heart, taking care of your blood pressure, taking care of your diabetes, and taking care of high cholesterol are all really important ways of taking care of your brain. It's important to have a modest calorie intake. We know from researchers' findings related to those areas where there are low levels of Alzheimer's and brain disease that they tend to have a modest calorie intake. Also, we want to reduce our exposure to neurotoxins. If you're going to be working around strong chemicals or exposed to strong chemicals, make sure you're wearing the types of certified masks that are going to prevent you from inhaling those chemicals, which could then ultimately be harmful to your brain. There's some interesting research that's come out related to major depressive disorder or serious depression. Depression isn't just about the neurochemistry or the events in our life. Researchers are also finding that people who have major depressive disorder that's not being managed have higher rates of brain inflammation. This is not what we want. So if we can help people really manage their depression, they're going to be helping their brain be much healthier. We also know that good quality social contact is excellent for our brain. Research shows that it's really not the amount of people that we're connected to, it's the quality of friends that we have. If you have a few friends that know you well, you really are vulnerable with them, you share your inner secrets with them, they support you, they're helpful to you, and you have frequent contact with them, you're going to have incredible health benefits. We have benefits of having stronger immune systems, therefore we're healthier, we have less depression, we report less pain, we have a lot of really great benefit. So think about the friendships in your life. It's not really about the amount, it's the quality and also the contact that you have with those quality friends. It's also important to prevent falling. Well, how do we prevent falling? There are a lot of ways. We can make sure we're getting annual eye exams. We can install grab bars in areas of the home if we're somebody who tends to fall or have balance problems. Having good lighting in the home, removing tripping hazards, having wearing stable shoes, or if you don't have great balance, doing daily balancing development exercises can be helpful. If you're going to use a ladder, make sure you're using a ladder safely. Avoiding falls is going to be really great for your brain. If you're going to participate in high-risk activities related to your brain, such as riding a bike, roller skating, snowboarding, skateboarding, skiing, riding a motorcycle, etc., it's really important to wear a helmet. We want to protect the brain, and we don't want to just protect the very top of the brain. We want to protect the sides of the head and also the back of the brain. If you're going to be involved in these sports, then have fun with it and wear a helmet. That can be really a fun expression of yourself. If you look at the image in the middle, you can see the structure of the brain, and this middle helmet is really protecting the top of the brain, the back of the brain, the sides of the brain, and the sides of the head. This is what we're hoping people will be choosing for brain health. And then you can have fun with it and design the helmet and put stickers on it and have different colors, etc., or lighting on it to suit your taste. I imagine you can know which one of these helmets would be my favorite, and that's the one that looks like a brain. Some more tips for brain health. Be curious. We are learning so much about the brain. The field of neuroscience is very young. In fact, we know less about the brain than we do about the universe at this time. There's research coming out all the time, and articles and news stories coming out all the time about things that are good and not so good for our brain. So stay curious, read those kinds of articles, check it out and see what you think, and just be curious about your own brain. It's also helpful to reduce the amount of alcohol and drugs that we may be using in order for our brain to be healthy. Stopping smoking is critical for brain health. There's tons of research out there of how smoking nicotine can be harmful to our brain. These types of things are causing inflammation. Inflammation is not what we want. So if you're a smoker, think about developing a plan to decrease and ultimately eliminate that behavior. Again, we're looking at the different kinds of behaviors that we can modify in order to promote the health of our brain and to protect it. It's important to get quality sleep. Similar to the issue of napping, if we don't get good quality sleep, we're going to throw off our circadian rhythm, which is going to cause health issues related to our brain. So we want to make sure we're getting really good quality sleep on a nightly basis. Keep your brain active. Learning about how to have a healthy brain is an example of keeping your brain active. Reading, doing crossword puzzles, Sudoku puzzles, taking a class, those types of things. This type of activity your brain absolutely loves, and it keeps it really healthy. I also encourage you to develop your cognitive reserve with newness. Your cognitive reserve is the ability to find alternative ways of doing something. It's the ability to improvise, the ability to make flexible and efficient use of your mind. And when we develop our cognitive reserve, that's going to be stimulating our brain with newness, and that's a good thing. This means not just learning, but learning new things. So, learning a new language, reading a book we haven't read before, doing a puzzle we haven't completed before, making new friends, starting to learn a new instrument, or developing a new hobby. These types of activities are going to increase our cognitive reserve, and that is wonderful for brain health. Aerobic exercise is also really great for brain health. We know that aerobic exercise is wonderful for all kinds of things related to our body, in particular brain health. And if you're able to work up your way to walking 40 minutes briskly 3 times a week, you're going to very significantly help the health of your brain. You don't have to start right away, but work your way up over time, increase your distance or timing of the walk so that it's up to 40 minutes. But it's important not to have a really slow stroll. You need to get your heart rate up a bit and have that aerobic type of walking. That's going to be really healthy for your brain. So think about modifying that behavior. Certain foods and nutrients are really great for your brain. Here are the foods that your brain loves. Your brain loves berries, any type of berry. Raspberry, strawberry, blueberry. It doesn't have to be an expensive berry. It doesn't have to be fresh, and it doesn't have to be organic. Your brain's not picky. So your brain loves berries. Think about incorporating that into your nutritional plan. Your brain loves red apples and it loves red grapes. It loves pumpkin, any dark green leafy vegetable. It loves garlic and onion. It loves broccoli, carrots, cauliflower. Your brain absolutely loves walnuts. 2 ounces of walnuts a day is really good for your brain. Your favorite oil of the brain is olive oil. So think about incorporating olive oil into your nutritional plan. Your brain loves Concord grape juice. In fact, there's research that shows you can significantly decrease the risk of Alzheimer's by drinking Concord grape juice 3 times a week. It doesn't necessarily need to be organic, but it does need to be 100% juice. A person with diabetes would definitely not want to take this suggestion because that could be very harmful to somebody who has borderline diabetes or a diabetes diagnosis. So think about incorporating the types of foods and recommendations that are going to fit for you and your health, not just a blanket statement of doing it all. Your brain really loves turmeric. The substance within turmeric is what's helpful. It's an anti-inflammatory. Eating turmeric twice a week can be incredibly helpful for your brain health. So think about incorporating that into your food as well. There are certain nutrients that are very helpful for brain health. It's important, again, to understand that these nutrients are mostly researched through food consumption rather than supplement consumption. One of those is omega-3. There's plenty of research that shows that omega-3 is really great for brain health. Yes, we want it. Rather than taking it in a supplement form, consider consuming foods that have higher levels of omega-3. Salmon, sardines, anchovies, herring, oysters, haricot beans, these are also known as navy beans, seaweed, nori, flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, soybeans, and avocados all have omega-3 within them. Consider incorporating these types of foods into your nutritional plan so you can get that really great omega-3 that your brain absolutely loves. There's also research that shows vitamin E is helpful for brain health. However, the research has been done in the food that contains vitamin E rather than the pill form. When we take a pill form of vitamin E, it may not have these brain benefits. Typically, the pill form of vitamin E, researchers explain, have 1 form of vitamin E. Apparently, there are 8 forms of vitamin E. So if we take the pill form, we're taking only one of those forms of vitamin E, and it's blocking the absorption of the other 7 forms of vitamin E that are beneficial for brain health. Consider getting your vitamin E through these foods: red bell pepper, asparagus, mango, avocado, spinach, collard greens, pumpkin, peanuts, peanut butter, almonds, and sunflower seeds. Think about how you might incorporate these foods into your nutritional plan for really great brain health. There's research that shows if a person from midlife on consumes 500 milligrams of caffeine every day, they will significantly reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. While this is interesting, it's also a bit alarming. That's a lot of caffeine every day. That's the equivalent of 5 cups of coffee, or 14 cups of caffeinated tea, or 20 caffeinated sodas, or 5 pounds of chocolate every single day. And so my response is, yikes! This is an example of research that shows something that can be helpful for our brain. However, that could be unhealthy in a lot of other ways. Think about how you might incorporate this or not incorporate this. I always recommend that people who have anxiety really not use caffeine. So if somebody's got anxiety and they want to have a healthy brain, this is not going to be a great option. Research has also shown that if adults take anti-inflammatories over the counter several times a day, every single day, they can significantly reduce the risk of brain inflammation. This makes sense because these are anti-inflammatories. However, there's a great risk there. If somebody's going to take ibuprofen multiple times a day, every day that they don't need, they're increasing a very significant risk of having a problem with their stomach. It can really be harmful to the stomach. Again, we want to read the research, take it into consideration, and then modify what seems reasonable, not going overboard. You may have also heard that aluminum causes problems with the brain. That research showed up in the later 70s and 1980s, and it's been debunked. It had to do with certain findings of metals that are naturally within the brain. So people at that time were throwing out their aluminum pans, they were throwing out their aluminum foil, they were saying don't drink out of aluminum cans or eat food that has aluminum packaging. And I want you to know that that research has been debunked as far as the products with aluminum go. So don't worry about using any kind of aluminum products related to brain health. It's going to be fine. All right, it's time for you to make a plan. You've got your tips and tricks for brain health. So now what I'd like you to do is write down 5 unhealthy habits you recognized and the ones that you're going to stop today. What are 5 things you've been doing that haven't been particularly great for your brain and you're willing to stop today? Write those down. Next, I want you to write down 5 healthy brain techniques you're willing to start and do today. What are the things that I covered that you think, that works for me, or I'm interested in trying those types of things? Write down 5 brain health techniques you're willing to implement today. I further recommend that you share this information, your plan, with a trusted friend or colleague. It's important sometimes for us to have another person to help keep us accountable. If we share our plan with that person, they can check in with us every once in a while and see how we're doing. That can be really helpful to us. So think about who in your life would be fun to have involved with increasing your brain health plan, and involve them. Maybe you'll influence them to do it for themselves as well. Here's the bottom line. We want to avoid brain inflammation of any kind. And in order to do that, we can modify our lifestyle to reduce the risk of cognitive decline and protect the health of our brain. So get out there, reduce that inflammation of the brain, take care of that beautiful brain on top of your shoulders. I hope these tips and tricks have been helpful for you. I really hope you'll follow through with some of these brain health techniques I've shared with you so you can experience living a copacetic life.